Today, we're going to go over notes on area of squares and rectangles. So this will be the first set of notes where you're learning about area. You're going to learn two formulas. But first, area is the number of square units in a figure. So we talked about perimeter, where that's when we look on the outside of the figure. So like that red that I drew in. But the area would be the number of square units. So if I drew in these boxes in here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 square units. So it's all of area is all of the space inside of a polygon. And I'm going to start with the area of the rectangle. We're going to use the formula area equals base times height. In the past, you may have seen the formula as area equals length times width. And that works also, but we're going to use base and height because the words base and height are going to show up in other formulas. So this isn't wrong, we're just not going to use it. An area of a square, we can also use base times height because if we think of a rectangle, we have base, we have height. So there's our rectangle. And in a square, we have base and we have height. But we're going to use side squared specifically. And I'm trying to think, there's a warm-up problem where that comes in handy. This formula side squared is more helpful than base times height. And I think we see that in a couple of days, but I don't remember exactly what lesson it's in. So you could use base times height for both of these. That's fine, and we could use that on each of our problems today, base times height. But whenever we see a square, I'm going to use this side squared formula. So this first one, it just says find the area of each figure. This is a rectangle, so I'm using area equals base times height. And when we multiply, multiplication is commutative. So 3 times 2 is the same as 2 times 3. We get 6 no matter which order we multiply in. So it really doesn't matter which is the base and which is the height. Most people in this one would use 7 as the base because that's kind of like what the polygon is sitting on. And 3 is the height because that's our vertical piece. But if I turn the page this way, it looks like 3 is our base and 7 is our height. So we're going to be multiplying 3 times 7. And whether we do 3 times 7 or 7 times 3, we're going to get the same answer. So area equals 7 times 3. And so the answer is area equals 21, and we're going to label it inches squared. So when we did perimeter yesterday, there was no squared on our label. Whenever we do area, we square our label because really what we're doing here is we're taking 7 inches times 3 inches, and inches times inches is inches squared. Another important thing to know, and this will come up a little bit more in the future, is that a base and a height come together at a right angle. So that's also why that's our base and our height, because we know a rectangle has 4 right angles. So that right angle right there tells us we have a base and a height. And then the same with a square. If we use that idea of base and height, we have a right angle. So we have a base and a height. Remember though, I'm going to use the formula area equals side squared. So I don't really need to know what that base is, but we know in a square all the sides are the same. I know that a side is 5, so area equals 5 squared. So area equals 25, and this one is centimeters squared. Our next one is a rectangle. So area equals base times height. So I'm going to take area equals. This one's a little bit trickier. You won't have too many like this, but just kind of pay attention. I have 1 foot and 2 inches. Those units are the same. Here I had 5 and 5 centimeters, 7 inches and 3 inches. Our units have to be the same. So 1 foot, think of a ruler. A ruler is 1 foot. It's really 12 inches. So I'm going to change those to inches. So my base is 12. My height is 2 because I have that perpendicular again. So my area, 12 times 2 is 24 inches squared. So you are going to be doing problems that look like this. Pretty easy. Multiplying two numbers together. Multiply those two together, and then in here, when we plug in one number, we multiply it by itself. There are other types of problems, though, that we'll see. This is called a composite figure, where it's two figures that we can find the area of put together. So like if I separate this right here, there I have a rectangle, and here I have a rectangle. So for both of those rectangles, I'm going to use area equals base times height. I'm going to start with this one on the left and say area equals base is 3. There's my right angle. Height is 6. So that area equals 18. Then I have this little one. Everything is all in inches, so my units are fine. And I'm going to say area equals base is 1, because here's my right angle. Height is 3. And 1 times 3 is 3. So this area is 18 inches squared. This area is 3 inches squared, but I want the area of the whole thing, so I need to add those together. So my total area is 21 inches squared, because I took 18 plus 3. I added those two areas together, because we don't have a formula for this specific shape. And then the last one, we again have two rectangles, so we're going to use area equals base times height. We have this gray rectangle and then this white rectangle in the center. But I want the area of the shaded region. I don't want the white rectangle. It's like maybe if this is a pool and I need to find the area of like concrete or gravel or something I need to put around the pool, then I want to subtract, I want to take out this area in here. So I'm going to do area of the big figure. 15 is the base. 6 is the height, because there's my right angle. And that one I don't know off the top of my head. 15 times 6 is 90. So that area is 90. So this is of the big rectangle. And then of the small rectangle, that white one in the center, we're going to do the same thing. The base is 10. Area equals 10. There's my right angle. The height is 2. So the area is 20. But again, I don't want that small rectangle. I want to take that out. I only want the area of the shaded region. So I'm going to do 90 minus 20. And my area is going to be 70. And this is in feet. 70 feet squared. But again, you're going to be just focusing on problems like these top 3 for your assignment today.